Hey there, Dr. Brian here on Thursday evening. Had a great day, and a good day is always a good way to, or good background for a chat with you, and wondering how I can best serve and offer value. Now, I did 2 reports as a result of exams, and it's just wonderful and exciting when all the data comes together to create a focus that actually creates a value point for that individual. Because the individual, we as individuals, as people, we often intrinsically know that we aren't operating at our optimal. You don't necessarily have to have had a great experience to know the difference, but the body is very comparative. Everything's relative. And so we're often aware that we've shifted in how we feel, and but we're not entirely sure what it is that where we've gone to. It's often hard to explain, and we're not quite sure how we got there, because it was one of those subtle sort of creeping things that you move from where you are to from where you were to where you are, and it's hard to know exactly what the process was and where you should find the remedy. You often know where you are, but you're not quite sure what caused it. And quite often, if you go to your regular physician, they're often remarkably clever at working things out, but often it's at a symptomatic where you are point rather than how did you get here. So when I did the first exam this morning, we're looking at a number of markers of health, and some have incrementally changed over a window of time. So we've set up some goals and some processes that are going to help this individual go somewhere, and in a month we're going to do a focus of corrections that the exam indicated would be beneficial, and then we're also she's going to do some modifications around diet. We'll see if she can lose 4 centimetres around her waist. That's not impossible in a month. It's 1 centimetre a week. It would be a matter of being quite consistent and diligent around what's on your plate, and she has told me that she's quite happy and good at cutting down every meal by 15%. Now that may not sound like much, but when you do the maths, so say 4 centimetres, each centimetre is worth say a kilo, and a kilo of body fat is 9,000 calories, because fat can be measured as energy because it is stored energy for a time of less abundant food, and each calorie of fat, each gram of fat is worth 9 calories of energy. So we love the metric system. A kilo versus a gram is 1,000 grams in a kilo, so there's 9,000 calories. And then if you divide that back into a week, you can begin to see that if you divide by 7, you've got something like 115, and 7 15s, 6 15s are 90. Yeah, so 7 15s are 105. So you're looking at not a big difference in calorie intake per week and per day. It really is that cut your diet down by 15%. And so we're going to monitor that with some weekly visits, and we'll probably put a tape measure around in 2 weeks to see how well she's doing. Even do it every week, because then we can work out whether we should change what we're doing to make sure that we hit that target on the due date. And then the other guy this afternoon, he's had a medical opinion. And what was interesting is that actually it flagged in a sort of in a joint organ kind of way rather than a singular organ kind of way. And there are some other concerns that he has that he's really aware of, and they showed up in a component of the exam. So when he stood on a wobble board with each foot independently, it was an okay score. And when he stood on with 2 feet, he just could not get balance, and that tells me that the brain is having some difficulty in processing that. So it's like it's running behind the needs, so it's actually processing slower than is necessary. It's like an old computer that's just buffering all the time and just can't cope with the rate at which data flows in via the faster networks these days. So it kind of almost just gives up the ghost and dies. So I'm enjoying the process of giving certainty and direction to the individual based on the data that I'm collecting, and often we find that it has a sync with their own findings, often from a medical expert. So what does that mean for you if you've bothered to listen for the last 6 minutes? What it means is that I can see there's a need to create, if you like, an information series that actually help you to understand how, through neurology and physiology, the body has this lovely connectedness, and they're often the source of the queries around that are sources of questions that people type into Google, and I'm going to be the answer. So I can see the need, and I can see that if people can find an answer, it gives them some options about how they might find their solution, because a multi-approach is very powerful, and if you leave off a component that's actually important in the body finding its solution and resolving, then your results aren't going to be optimal. In fact, they might fall well short of what is possible, and certainly what you'd like to expect. So that'll actually turn into a product. It's not going to be all free, but I'm happy to provide enough information that you can see that the value will be there when we dig into things in a 20-minute video clip where we're actually going to explain things in great detail, and we can go through all the layers and body systems and those common questions. So why does a woman get back pain with a period? What could is a back pain or a sort of a structural pain, could it be an indicator of a pathology? Is there an understood and observed association, not necessarily causative, but it becomes an indicator with other signs and symptoms? And when we go through school, we're taught to ask enough questions where you can begin to raise yellow and red flags. So like the traffic lights, yellow lights are it could be good, it could be bad, and red lights are you should really stop for this one because driving through it won't go well. So that's what I can do. The joy of doing something for 20, 30 years is that you now inevitably collect a vast amount of information in your head, and it's a great service if I can deliver that to whoever wants to listen, to help them understand better what's happening for them. So I'm off to be a good boy and create some content, so I'll leave you for now and catch up with you again tomorrow, because publish every day is the rule, and there's a momentum or a tipping point where you've done it enough and it becomes noticed, and that will be great, because my goal and role is to offer value to 1 million people, and I think that's a pretty exciting goal. There's an awful lot of people out, but it's not a bad chunk because they'll talk to other people. Okay, bye for now, and I'm going to speak to you soon and get on with my day. Bye for now.